And the last speaker, the speaker before me, is an example of the energy and the determination and the anger that has been stirred up by these latest council plans. But this isn't the first round of cuts, is it? Services in our city have been cut to the bone. It began with £16 million worth of cuts by the last council. They closed schools and care homes, they abolished the Disability Welfare Advice Service, and they cut home care for the elderly by over £1 million. And I think many in Cardiff were disappointed that when we had a change of council, we didn't have a change of direction. We had a change of council government, but it didn't mean a fundamental change in what the policies were. Last year, the Labour-run council cut 22 million and hundreds of jobs. Now they want to double that. They're looking at £44 million worth of cuts to services. That's what they're going to be debating at 4:30 today. That's why Cardiff Against the Cuts has organised this protest to put some pressure on those councillors, to demand that they take a different road. It means 600 more job losses, up to 200 of which could be by compulsory redundancy, according to their own figures. That's in a city that is still reeling from recession. It means facing an extra pay cut for council workers, despite Unison, one of the unions, rejecting that plan, and council workers having been cut by 18% of their pay. It means the closure of important facilities like Block Pool, that's up for closure in March, despite the promises of the politicians, and many other community facilities have got their necks on the chopping block as well, and it means funding cuts for play centres, for youth clubs, with a view, in reality, for mass closures sometime in the future. And by the way, don't swallow any of this nonsense that's coming out about finding alternative funding methods. No private company is going to be able to squeeze a profit out of youth clubs, and charities have themselves had funding cuts as well. Where is the money going to come from if it's not going to come from the council? There'll be terrible damage done if these cuts are voted through, unless a different road is taken. But the reality is that even worse is to come. The council has said, it's in the document that they put in to the meeting today, that they plan to cut another £92 million worth of funding for services if they get away with this latest cut. And councillors have got to face a stark choice. Will they go and do the dirty work of the Tory Liberal coalition and vote in favour of the cuts? Will they help destroy the communities of Cardiff? Or will they fight for us and vote against the cuts? Those are the only alternatives. No councillor who puts their hand in the air in that meeting today can say that they support trade unions or that they stand up for their community. They'll say that they've got no alternative. But the Condems have cut the Assembly's budget and the Assembly have cut theirs. They'll say that you've got to cut your cloth according to the material that you're given. But how much we're given is determined by what? It's determined by how hard we fight for that funding. The Tory government is never going to give us enough cash to run all of the services that we rely on.
We did run the Council Coalition from 2008 to 2012. Our record's there. And I'll tell you what, you did not see budgets like this, with cuts like this, when we ran this council. That's a fact. Talking about this country and the political situation, our biggest problem is being dependent in the UK on England and Westminster. We will never grow as a country until we have a fully sovereign Welsh government able to make laws in Wales, for the people that live here. If we look at this budget, I'm slightly confused. Because on the one hand, they're talking about £50 million worth of cuts, and yet we have Russell Goodway telling the press, telling the public, that he's got £75 million salted away for the city centre, for the convention centre. So the convention centre is going to be paid for by the social fabric of this city. What we've done as a Plaid Cymru group is we've really tried to do what we can for the meeting this evening, and we put forward an amendment. The amendment is very, very simple. We will stop paying people over £100,000 a year, and those that are over £100,000 can earn 90. It's what we did when we ran the council anyway. We took out the top tier of management. Labour brought it back. So there's a proposal there this evening. Also, if we get rid of the assistant directors, just 3 of them, and the overall tier, we'll save overall 1.124 million. Okay? May not seem like a massive sum, but if you look at the back of the sheet, these are the cuts that would not happen if those councillors in there vote for our proposal. We're not asking them to throw the budget out completely, although we will vote against the budget, clearly. We're asking them to vote for our amendment. So, can anybody anywhere justify pegging salaries at £90,000? How can you vote against it? And what I find frustrating is all these Labour councillors, I call them the Red Tories. There's no difference, just the colour of the badge. And yet they sit down in meetings, they moan about the cuts. Of course we know what the condemns are like. Of course we know what Westminster is doing. But these people in there tonight, all 75 of us, can take individual responsibility for what we're doing in Cardiff. And it's up to us and it's up to them. And I tell you what, if they vote for this budget tonight, I'd encourage every single person here, any self-respecting progressive person, never again to have anything to do with anybody in that red Tory party called Labour.